This morning, New York Senator Chuck Schumer is calling on the FDA to investigate the energy drink Prime.
Prime Energy.
Prime's energy.
Prime Energy.
Senator Chuck Schumer of New York is trying to have the FDA, or Food and Drug Administration, investigate Prime and their energy and hydration drinks. What I'm going to be saying here is more of an opinion piece, things that I've noticed in the past. So what I don't want you to do is take this as health advice by any means. I'm not a doctor, I'm not an MD, I don't claim to be one. I just know that from my past in terms of fitness and athletic performance, as well as, again, working with gamers, caffeine does have a place and it does have a home. From what I have been able to gather through reading various articles, it seems like they're trying to gear this towards making sure that these products from Prime stays out of the hands of kids. It's run by Logan Paul and KSI, who are two really huge influencers, I would say, in the teenage, early adult frame. And so while I don't know so much about what they do particularly, because I don't watch a lot of their content, I do keep in touch in terms of what's going on in the industry. So I know that this product has been out for quite some time. It's pretty much sponsored by major companies at this point. So with that being said, they're reaching to a huge, massive audience. So what I want to do here is just talk about something a little bit anecdotal, something that I have experienced in the past just from consuming caffeinated beverages. I do like Monsters every now and again. I am going to be trying Prime Energy today, just so that way I can give my opinion on how I feel, how it makes me feel, and what I can kind of gauge based on the information that is being given to us. So my spicy take here is, when I was a teenager, I would drink Monsters, and typically it would be like some of the fruit Monster drinks. I wouldn't drink like the original green or the zero sugar one. It just, for me, it tasted like NyQuil. And when I was a teenager, so again, let's just say about 15, 16 years ago, there was a lot of teens that were suffering from heart conditions, also dying. And it was in part due to Monster, but really it was because of the fact that this younger audience was just over consuming so much caffeine. Your body can only take so much, and it's something that I'll definitely be talking about later on in this video. After really understanding that higher doses was what was causing this to happen, I would make sure that I would have one every once in a while. I wouldn't drink much coffee growing up, so this was really the only caffeine I would get, maybe once a month, once every 3 weeks. It wasn't very typical. I would drink a Monster, and some older adults would come over to me and speak to me as I shouldn't be consuming this, and that, they heard out of context information about it. Not necessarily that Monster is bad. They didn't get the information that overconsumption of Monster is bad. But also keep in mind, if you have caffeine insensitivities or any other medical conditions that caffeine can pose a threat to your health, don't consume it. It's really simple, in my opinion. Again, I am not giving medical advice, and I don't claim to be. I'm just talking from a common sense perspective here. In Chuck Schumer's letter to the FDA, he's claiming that there's very little noticeable difference in the online marketing of these products, of the two drinks, so again, hydration and energy. In my opinion, I think it's just creating some fear mongering so that way people aren't using the product. So I have them. I actually made a purchase yesterday just because I want to try the product, see what it tastes like, see how I feel after consuming it. So this is the energy and this is the hydration. Now, if you can look here, it says energy on there. It also says hydration. So I think there's a differentiation between the products themselves, the fact that they actually say that, but also this is a metal can or aluminum can. This is a plastic bottle. So there are noticeable differences.
Oh, really?
Really?
So I'm not sure exactly what he's referring to, but last time I checked, if you want to comment down below, is there a difference in the packaging or the marketing of these two? If so, please inform us. I'd like to be more informed on that. One thing I also want to notice is relating this to pre-workout or pre-workout beverages. Now, I've always considered energy drinks, especially when they're being geared towards gamers. So something like G Fuel, Ghost is another one. I know there's a few others in the market that are for quote unquote gamers, but really what they are is almost a pre-workout in and of itself. It's just being repackaged and marketed to a new audience. It's something that has already existed. Yesterday I went to GNC to buy my Prime products, and what I was able to notice is just the fact that when I went online to look at the caffeine intake, a lot of them are actually much higher in terms of caffeine, but also have less fluid ounces to them. So one of the big things that I guess Schumer is trying to make mention of is that there's 200 milligrams of caffeine in one Prime energy drink. Whereas in Monster, they have about 140 to 160 milligrams of caffeine per 16 ounces. So yeah, of course, there's more fluid ounces, so it's gonna dilute in terms of caffeine and just the amount of caffeine they're putting in general. But when you look at pre-workouts, you can put 6 to 8 ounces with one scoop, and it can carry anywhere between 175 to over 200 milligrams. So that's one thing I want to keep in mind, and really why I wanted to create this video, because I think that this can create some precedence in terms of what you're gonna see in the pre-workout energy drink market. Now, I have some images that I'm sharing right here, and what I want you to be able to understand is the differences in these products. They're not all that different. Relatively speaking, they may have some similarities in terms of caffeine intake, and it's going to vary based on the milligram level that you're going to see, but also the fluid ounces that you need to put in if you're gonna make your own powdered pre-workout drink. When we want to look at what are safe levels for caffeine consumption, the FDA has said that about 400 milligrams is the most that you should be taking. So realistically, when you put that in perspective, that would be about 2 Prime Energy drinks. You don't want to supersede that, because that's where you're gonna see some negative effects. Positive effects with caffeine, just as a little heads up, is improved focus. You'll have L-theanine oftentimes in them. And what that does is it gives you all the great benefits of caffeine with reducing the negatives. So something that is a negative can be not sleeping well or being caffeine sensitive. So you don't want to have that. I want you to kind of understand in this image here, the difference in how you look at something like Coke, because that's what they're trying to compare it to, that it's about 6 cans of Coke is the equivalent of 1 Prime energy drink, all the way up to Prime. So what I'm gonna do here now is just give this a sip, quick review. So I bought the blue raspberry. It says it's naturally flavored. It has potassium, B6, B12, which also can act as something similar to caffeine without any effects that caffeine have, and magnesium. I think magnesium is an underrated supplement, and I think it's something that should be used just for, it can help with sleep, it can help with muscle function and just achiness, discomfort, especially if you're working out. It's something that I like to use when I'm supplementing in general. So I typically do use a magnesium supplement. No better feeling than when you open the can for an energy drink and you see, you know, kind of like almost like a smoke come out of it. Honestly, I'm really surprised at how good this tastes. I would say it tastes very similar to a blue freeze pop. It's not very sweet, and they claim that there are no artificial sweeteners in them. That's pretty good, I would say. There are preservatives, but I feel like it's gonna be really hard to not have a preservative, especially when you have something in a can that's gonna be sitting around for a little bit. Whether or not you buy it, let's say today, and you drink it a week from now, it can go bad if it didn't have it. So that's something that, just to keep in mind. What I wanna finish up with here is getting you to understand that they can lower the caffeine content in these drinks, just so that way they're safer doses, because they're being marketed towards a younger audience, and if they're not used to caffeine, it can affect them in a negative and be detrimental. That might be something that we'll probably see eventually with something like a Prime Energy, but again, when you look at the bigger picture, there are other products that have similar functions as Prime Energy does. However, they might be in a slightly lower caffeine content level. So how do we gauge what's appropriate at that point? And I think that's where there could be some muddy waters to that. What I wanna do here is just educate all of you. There are great things about caffeine, but there are negative things about caffeine, and being able to understand those is gonna be really important as you move forward to maybe there's a new product in a year from now that far outweighs anything that Prime could have ever done. Keeping in mind that caffeine is a drug, you have to increase the dosage in order to get a similar effect. So understanding that sometimes maybe having a Prime Energy, but then maybe doing something like a small cup of coffee for a few days is not a bad thing, because when you undulate that, you'll get those same effects that you're looking to elicit with something with higher caffeine input. I wanna thank you all for sitting down, watching this. Hopefully you've gotten a ton of information from this, can get some sort of opinion based on what I'm giving you, and maybe you'll be able to look more into this yourself. I'll post some of the articles in the video description below. Comment what your favorite caffeine beverage is, whether it's tea, coffee, an energy drink of some sort. I want to see what everyone's consuming right now, just because I know what I see in terms of caffeinated beverages, but I'm sure there are other products that I'm not aware of. Please like, subscribe, share this with family and friends. And as always, everybody, stay healthy and game on.